Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat to amazing humans about their stories and their journeys. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Ellie MacDonald to the conversation. Welcome, Ellie.
Hello.
Hello there. Lovely to see you. As always, very quickly, how did we get to the podcast? I always like to give sort of the origin story of how this all came about. Ellie and I are connected through social media, through LinkedIn, as many of my guests are. And it's great to sort of be connected with somebody who's in a very similar field to myself. We won't tell you too much in this introduction, but when I was looking for new guests for the episodes of the podcast, it's great when people reach in and sort of share part of their story with me, so we're able to record it. So we got together, and here we are talking about mental health. Ellie, give us a very brief introduction to who you are and what you do.
Yes, I'm Ellie MacDonald and I'm the founder and CEO of Hello Hope.
Amazing. And Hello Hope is something that we will definitely be talking about in this conversation today. But as always, the story is yours. I will give you, the microphone to tell us a journey in the story, but please tell us about your journey with mental health.
Yes, so when I was a little girl, my dad was my world. But sadly, when I was just 4 years old, he took his own life. That's something that has affected me my whole life, mostly because nobody ever dared talk about it. So I grew up feeling really quite confused, lost, sad, angry, all of the emotions. And something that's definitely had a huge impact on my whole life. And I've sought various support ever since. It's probably the main reason why I went to study psychology. I always knew I wanted to do something to help people, but wasn't entirely sure what. I fell into PR and marketing and ended up running my own successful PR agency for a number of years. But then a few years ago, I was delivering the PR campaigns for a number of mental health organizations. So I was finding myself in that world more from a professional level. But I was also really struggling with quite severe depression at the time as well. So that was from a bit of a COVID hangover around 2021 when it first got particularly bad. And I started thinking that I could do with a new challenge outside of PR. I was just desperately trying to find the reason why I was struggling. And I think I kind of latched on to maybe it's this career, maybe this isn't right for me anymore. I've worked in this for a long, long time. I don't think it was all that. I think that had a bit of an effect, an impact on me, but there were various other things going on as well. Not I wasn't in the nicest relationship at the time as well. So I started looking more into mental health, and when I saw that the suicide rates hadn't changed since my own dad's death back in 1989, I knew that I had to do something about it. Anything that makes me sort of sad or angry, I have to do something about it. So I saw a few people in this space, obviously from the work I was doing, and I thought this is something that I would really like to make a positive impact on as well. Using my PR expertise, like we need to keep increasing awareness. We need to reduce the stigma, which is still far too rife, particularly with suicide. And I wanted to come at it from a place of hope and positivity and prevention, and try to help reduce that stigma away from the worry that suicide is a very dark, heavy, doom and gloom sort of topic. Hence why it's called Hello Hope. And now we're just coming into our second birthday, and we help increase awareness, reduce stigma through loads of events, activities, things like Leeds Wellbeing Week. We've got the Hope Awards to champion amazing people doing things in this space. And then our kind of day-to-day work is getting out there, delivering talks and training to businesses and workplaces and communities to try and help empower and equip ordinary people to understand what the signs are, to spot that somebody may be struggling with poor mental health, maybe having thoughts of suicide, and then how do we safely and confidently intervene? Because I do believe that the more people we can get trained up on those things, then the more lives we can genuinely save.
Yeah, no, of course, and thank you for sharing all of that, and it's such an incredible journey to sort of put out there around sort of personal experiences at the beginning, and as you've gone through this towards where you are now with Hello Hope. So, I'm going to delve a bit deeper, if that's okay, to sort of touch on a few points that you've raised. I'd like to go back to sort of your first awareness of mental health, and in particular, of course, around the event that when you lost your father. What sort of memories? Do you have any memories from that, or what was sort of going on at the time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd only just turned 4 when he
Yeah.
died, so my memories of him are quite patchy. I've always like loved his favorite music, like Dire Straits and Talking Heads has
Yeah.
always become my favorite music because that's kind of the only real memories I've had is like things like that. Like I just remember just singing away to these songs, thinking, "How do I know these?" And my mum would say that was one of your dad's favorite songs. But yeah, nobody ever really dared talk about what happened. Like one day he was there and then he disappeared. And I'd asked like my mum and my grandma, his mum, over the years, what had happened because they'd always tell me, "Oh, he adored you, he loved you," and I grew up thinking, well, why did he leave me? Why did he choose to leave me? Which I know now, it wasn't that clean cut. He had an illness that took him away, and it's took me a long time to kind of be able to accept it. But I understand it better now. It is something that has affected me, but being able to channel it into something positive now is something that definitely helps. Um, but yeah, growing up, I mean, I'd say to my mum, like, well, was my dad depressed? And the response was, well, he must have been to have taken his own life, which, now I know is doesn't have to have been any diagnosis or even any, mental health condition. Like, my mum and dad were splitting up. The day he took his own life was the day he'd gone to look at a new flat, which was obviously too much for him. And it can be those life experiences, any kind of loss, a bereavement, a relationship breakdown, an eviction, all those things can have such a huge impact and take somebody from being okay to suicidal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's a very personal sort of perspective of the reality of what it looks like. And you're right, there's so many things that people are going through and experiences. We just don't always know sort of what
Mm.
that thing, that catalyst may look like or what it might be, right? Uh,
Absolutely. That's why it's one of those key pieces of the jigsaw, isn't it? To understand, what's going on for someone. Like when we start identifying those signs, what are we hearing them saying? Is it like, oh, I feel like a burden, or I don't want to be here anymore, or anything like that? But what are we also seeing them do in terms of, are they, the personal hygiene's not what it used to be? Are they engaging in risk-taking behaviors? Are they drinking a lot? Are they withdrawing from society? And all those things. But more than anything, I always say, like, understand what's going on for someone right now. The more we can understand, is there an abusive relationship? Is there something big going on in their lives? Is it work stress or relation? These things, they have a huge impact on us. So the more we can get curious and really listen to someone and ask them, in a safe, judgment-free, kind but firm way, I am concerned about you, what is going on for you right now? Talk to me. Then, that can really help.
yeah, no, definitely. And I don't really know much about suicide stats back in 1989 and sort of higher risk groups. I'm guessing probably similar sort of, men were higher prevalent,
Yeah.
females. Was there any sort of differences back in 1989 or around that evolution?
No, I mean, a lot of it, unfortunately, has remained the same. I mean, my dad was only 29 when he died. That kind of age category of men, it's almost like the same men that's, grown up. So now it's just a bit older. I mean, it's, suicide is the biggest cause of death of men under 50. So it might have been, under 30, under 40 then. So there's just a few more of those men that are still struggling, but they're still in that sort of category. But yeah, it's young women as well being affected a lot now. As you know, it's anyone under 35, suicide is the biggest cause of death. And that's in this country, and yeah, it's just yeah, shocking.
It's unbelievable and it is shocking. And it is, it's that, and where we are now, we're in 2026, this is a long time, that's passed since 1989 to now. And
Yeah.
thinking about that sort of journey that, the conversations are evolving. People are doing more. We are talking about suicide more. We are talking about mental health more. We're both in the world of, working in this space with helping to raise awareness and support. And yet the numbers are still there. And I know the population's moving and I know we're growing as a population and
Oh, but the stats are actually rising. So the
yeah,
latest ones we've got is 2024, which is an increase on 2023, which was the highest it's been since 1999. So you think it's not actually getting better, it's actually getting worse.
yeah,
Over 7,000 people a year. So yeah, we absolutely need to talk about it. We need to do something about it and take action.
100%. And that's why we invest ourselves in these conversations, right? Because of our personal experiences and our personal journey. You did talk about sort of your personal mental health over the years, and sort of
Mm.
can you share a little bit more about sort of what was going on around those moments or what happened?
Yeah, so I've found myself experiencing like severe depression a few times over. I think I've had anxiety for many, many years, which is kind of always there, but it could be level 1, it could be really high up on a like sort of a level 10. But it's quite manageable, especially these days. But it's those severe episodes of depression which I envy people who have never experienced it because it is horrible. But at the same time, it kind of helps me to understand how best to be able to support others. Because I do know that when I've been in those situations and felt really, really low, and I have had thoughts of suicide myself, it helps me understand a bit better that it is so hard to reach out and ask for that help. Even me in this world, when you feel so low, it's like it's hard to see the wood from the trees. Like it's really difficult. So that's why everything we do is all around like trying to empower other people to spot those signs and be able to reach in because yeah, we do have to talk. And when we're struggling, and something that has actually helped me is having a bit of a safe code word with my mum and my partner, where it's so hard to find the words to say, look, I'm really, really struggling at the moment. I'm having these thoughts. It's difficult to say that. You feel embarrassed. You don't want to worry people. All of those things. But if you can have like a quick fire way, whether I think somebody came up with the way of doing it, which was, "Have you got 8 minutes, mate?" Which kind of means I need your support. And I've said, whatever it is, as long as it works for you, and you've got people that you trust, ideally at least two people that you can say. So, like me and my mum, we love rhododendrons, so our like word is roadies, and she knows that if I text her that, then drop everything, come round, sort of thing. And I've never actually texted her it, but we've had that in place for a few years, and it just helps even just knowing that. And I did check in with her recently and said, "Do you remember our word?" And she said, "Yes, roadies. Like if you ever text me that, then that means okay, we're at crisis point. We need some help here." And luckily, I've got my amazing fiance now who's helped me. Like only earlier this year, I was really struggling, and between him, who ironically I taught him mental health first aid, and then he used it to help me,
Okay.
which was good. Yeah, and then he got me a doctor's appointment, and the doctor was amazing. Like people say, it's really, really hard to get into the GPs, and it is, it can be, but because we kind of said, this is urgent, we did end up having a call the same day, and she sat on the phone for half an hour just chatting me through loads of different options, and we came up with a plan, and I just instantly felt so much better. Um, so yeah, there is definitely help out there, and I have to really like try hard to make sure that I do things like prioritize my self-care, and we have to practice what we preach, which isn't always the easiest. I've never worked harder in my life with what I do now, but I know that we're no good to anyone if we're not looking after ourselves first.
No, and I find that really, really good that you've got that support and you've got that, if it does go to that place again. And that's important for everybody, isn't it? To have those people closest to you who can read the room and they can understand maybe you're not engaging in the same way. Maybe you are distracted with your thoughts. Maybe you've got other things going on. And I like the idea of that sort of, the code word or the point where you can make it obvious to somebody who needs to know versus having to tell everybody around you in terms of support as well. And it's great that obviously your training in mental health first aid has done pretty well if you've got the person closest to you who's using it for their personal
Yeah.
support to you. And actually that's so important as well, isn't it? It's that, those skills that we train through those models, they are used.
Yeah.
And they are really powerful. When you were, sorry, I'm going to sort of ask if it's okay to go back a little bit further. When you were in your first depression, or when you
Mm.
felt that depression was present at the first time, what sort of brought you out, or what brought you through that? Do you remember?
Um, yeah, I mean, it was definitely, having a good support network. I think because, we'd just been through COVID, everything was, working remotely online.
Yeah.
And ironically, through the very first lockdown, I was fine. My mental health was actually really good. I was like, I'm quite good in a crisis. When it's someone else's crisis, I
Yeah.
was out helping, delivering shopping for my mum and various people. I took on a newspaper round for the old guy so he could stay
Yeah.
home, and I took that over for him. Um, and I was quite good then, but it was kind of the aftermath of
Mm.
just like sitting on my own a lot in, an unhealthy relationship, working just from a screen, and I was hibernating and isolating myself, and then it became just too scary and daunting to be going out. As it usually, would have been fine. And I remember a friend getting in touch saying, "Oh, we've just got married in secret, and come for drinks with us all." And my other friend saying, "I think it'll be really good for us to go," but she knew that I wasn't doing very well, and I was really, really anxious about it. And I was like, "Oh, I don't think I can go." And I forced myself to go out. If it hadn't have been something as big and important as a wedding, I think I'd have just like got out of it. But I kind of made myself go, even though I really didn't want to. And I was like, okay, we've got a plan up right round from the venue, and I won't drink because that'll only make me feel worse. But when we got there, my friend was obviously, all loved up and happy and a bit tipsy, and lots of hugs, and it made a massive difference. And I thought, oh my God, I've been missing this. I didn't realize I'd been isolating myself and withdrawing from everybody. And it felt so hard to get back out. But that was like a real turning point for me, realizing that I needed to surround myself with good people, good support network. And often now if I think, oh, I'm feeling a bit low at the moment, like I'll look at my steps app and think, yeah, I haven't moved for a few days. I haven't really done much. So it's like, right, get out. And, we run monthly net walks that I do, which is always one of my favorite things to do. Just like a really nice well-being walk. So all those kind of things, getting out with nature, being around animals, which I love, especially, if we have nice weather, the sun shines, being able to have that good support network, all of those things, what have helped me, definitely.
You've definitely filled your toolkit with good things, right? That stress container that we talk about in the training, the mental health training, using the helpful coping, which is really positive, isn't it? And I think for me, the key is about recognizing when it's changing and knowing how to, adapt, or how to change something to bring it back online. And a lot of people struggle with that, don't they? About sort of understanding how to sort of take action to make positive changes. So it sounds like you're doing a great thing. You've obviously created Hello Hope. So tell us a little bit more about sort of your little journey with that, because it's only, it's only the last couple of years, but it's
Yeah.
doing some amazing stuff. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was when I was struggling, like, so I think
Yeah.
2023 when I really sort of delved into doing lots of research around it and thinking, oh, is this something that I could do? And I went on various, well, I believe every suicide prevention training course in the UK pretty much that I have now been on. And I just loved it. And I was thinking, this is actually really quite empowering, and yeah, could be something I do as a bit of a side hustle alongside my PR agency. But the more I've thrown myself into that, even though it's the hardest thing I've ever done, I've never worked harder, longer in my life. It's so rewarding because it's personal, it's purpose and mission, and that's absolutely what I need to thrive, and it helps me as part of my own recovery journey. I do think that probably second episode of severe depression in 2023, like setting up Hello Hope really helped, gave me a purpose and think, well, I'm going to use all of this lived experience that I've got to go and build something that can genuinely help other people. Um, so yeah, that's what I set about doing, and yeah, now it's turned into a bit of a beast in its own right, where it's keeping me very, very busy. But we've got amazing things going on for Lee's Wellbeing Week. We've got the Hope Awards in October. We do loads of amazing events, everything from the monthly netwalks to a Nibbles and Natter cheese night, getting people to come and have conversations, great company, and open up and just enjoy themselves, and all these nice things that I think is so important for that educational piece to get people realizing that it's okay to talk about these things. It's really important that we do, and it doesn't have to be scary and heavy and doom and gloom. All the many talks and things that I do, it's always coming from a place of hope. Like, yeah, it's really sad that I lost my dad to suicide, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but that experience kind of helps me moving forward. Like, we know that most suicides are preventable. And I don't want more little Ellies to go through wondering, where's my daddy gone? Why, what's happened? And just nobody daring to even talk about it. And then, that having such a huge impact on my own kind of self-esteem and self-worth, and just constantly feeling so confused. And that's been a massive part of my journey, and kind of understandable as to why I've experienced poor mental health myself. But this genuinely, it helps me, knowing that I can help other people as well. I'm still definitely human, and like you say, I have to be mindful of how much is going into that stress container and make sure I'm investing in all that good self-care things. Um, and yes, practice what we preach.
We sure have to, and I think that's the key, isn't it? We are invested in this, personally invested, and our experiences have given us the motivation and the energy to sort of go, do you know what? There's stories that need to be told, and there are people that need to understand better, and that's it. So we have to look after ourselves in that. It's so important, isn't it? And I think building something like you are with Hello Hope, you are giving hope to those people who we're not talking about and we're not reaching, and that's the biggest point to all of these conversations, isn't it? It's that some people say, yeah, I've heard it all before, and and I understand it, and there are a lot of people out there who haven't heard it at all,
Mm,
and they don't know that it's real, and they don't know what others are going through.
yeah.
So
Oh,
powerful.
absolutely. There's still so many more people to reach. I love LinkedIn because that seems like a really good platform where people get it so much easier, even though what I do comes from, a personal place of like losing my own dad. And I've got, family, his family and friends on like Facebook and places. Like, people just don't engage with it as well as they do on LinkedIn, and, getting to meet lovely people like yourselves and other people in this space. Um, I think that's a fantastic place, but there's so much more needed. I mean, I feel like getting it tattooed on my head to say, please stop using the phrase commit suicide, because the amount of people that still that just don't even know, that we ask people not to say that because it's not kind, it's not appropriate. It stems from when it was to commit a crime.
Yep.
And anyone who's taken their own lives, they've not committed a crime or a sin or done anything awful. Of course, it's sad, but they're not a criminal, and things like that. Every single time I ask people gently and with kindness to try and be mindful of the language that we use, because language does matter. It always like educates people. There is always a lot of people that don't know. I mean, the media still uses that sort of language as well, which Samaritans have got media guidelines advising people on how best to do it, but unfortunately, you do still see it in the news and on TV and things. Um, so there's like a huge societal shift that we really need to do. And yeah, luckily we've got people like me and you that are out there just
And many
banging that
others.
drum and trying to help as much as possible.
We're all doing it for the same reason, and as much as we might on paper look like we do the same thing and we might be deemed competitors, we're not, because there's not. I don't ever feel like there's anything competitive in this space. It's more the connections that we need to create to the people that are struggling. And so if we're all passionate and with purpose, that's what we're trying to achieve, isn't it? And sometimes the connections, even these connections by these conversations that we're having now, who knows what that's going to help, how that's going to help you or me or somebody else out there. And those things are so, so powerful as well, aren't they? Um, future. There you go, future. So you've got a fiance, so I guess there's maybe some positive future there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we've found our wedding venue. I've no
Okay.
idea when we're going to get married because I don't know when I'll
Right.
possibly fit that in. But we've found the beautiful venue on the East Coast, which is
Brilliant.
looks lovely. So yeah, the future is definitely bright. At the moment, this is like such a busy year for me, so I'm kind of focused on Leeds Wellbeing Week happening in June, and then the Hope Awards in October, and various other things. I've already pivoted Hello Hope quite a bit since I first launched just 2 years ago. Being a young startup, not for profit, we just have to kind of go where the money is. So we've managed to get a pot of grant funding to support the farming community. So that's a project that we will be embarking on this summer. And we've got a few other sort of irons in the fire, which if they come off, then we'll be more focused on that direction. If they don't, then again, it's that kind of pivoting, and it's difficult. I think, it's a really tough economy right now, and we, unfortunately, with our work, it's not something that businesses have to do. We're relying on people to do the right thing for the ethical reasons, and there's a huge financial impact as well too, and productivity losses and all of that. And I feel like we're starting to get somewhere, but could definitely do with the demand for like the training and things increasing. That would massively help. But I know I've ran a successful business before, so I just have to kind of have faith that what we're doing is something good, is something worthwhile, and there is a need
Yeah.
and interest for it, and then hopefully the world will catch up with without too much of me having to kind of drag them along.
Well, you know what? But sometimes it takes us to drag people into that space, doesn't it? But it's holding that hope for everything, and I love that sort of that labeling and that branding that you've got as well. And
Yeah,
it
thank
really is, though, isn't it? It's people on the outside who don't understand this process or this point of mental health and suicide prevention. You know, it's not complicated. It isn't, but we can't overcomplicate it with big words and science, and so please don't be scared. That's the invitation to anybody out there.
you.
Don't to venture into the
Absolutely.
conversations, because the saddest reality, and I use this a lot in sort of conversations I have with, and it's the saddest reality of suicide is we only talk about it after.
Mm,
So as soon as we learn or hear or see that somebody has sadly passed with suicide, has died by suicide, we then start talking about it, and it's like, well, hold on, that's not prevention then, is it?
yeah, exactly. And
Preventing the next possible suicide attempt in that moment. So,
yeah.
is it? Not sure, but
Exactly. We need that early prevention piece. That's exactly what we're all about. And yeah, you're right. It's so sad when people get in touch because they've just had a suicide in the workplace. Like
yeah,
we're asking people, please don't wait for that to
yeah,
happen. Don't wait for crisis point. Of course, I'll help people and I'll direct them to the relevant people for their post-vention bereavement support and things.
yeah.
But we are very much invested in that early prevention piece. The more we can all understand what signs to look for and how to safely and confidently to intervene. And we genuinely can save lives.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not fail safe, so we don't capture everybody, but the most important thing we can do is capture as many as we can, in terms of
Absolutely.
catch those conversations early and supporting people. Ellie, we are right towards the end of this. I'm going to throw over to you just one final thing of, any final thoughts from you. Also, if you've got a quote that you live life by, or you have an aspirational thought to, I always love to hear a personal quote or sort of motto for life. So throwing it over to you, but thank you.
Ooh.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, I guess a quote that I really love is what is it? Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Is that right? Uh,
Something about it.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's
I
been a
love it.
while,
Yeah,
but
nice. Where did you hear it? Was it something you picked up somewhere?
I don't know. It's just something. Yeah, I think it might be an Oscar Wilde quote or something. But from a few years ago that I heard, and I just thought, yeah, really. I mean, there's lots of them alike, but that's the one that just came to mind then. But obviously, like hope is my favorite word, so I always love anything to do with, having hope, but also being the hope that somebody else needs.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. It's been lovely. Ellie, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I really appreciate you for everything you're doing and for using your personal journey and experience to help and support so many other people as well. So keep doing the amazing magic that you're doing. So thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I look forward to carrying on following your journey as well.
Lovely. Thanks so much.
You're more than welcome. Take care now.
Thank you. Bye.